More than 5,000 people dead, at least 10,000 missing, 300,000 people affected, entire neighborhoods leveled, many washed out into the sea, electricity and communication lines downed, hospitals and morgues overwhelmed, bodies left piled up on the streets. This is the scale of destruction in Libya. It is vast and catastrophic. Torrential rain hit the North African country this past weekend, leading to floods in its northeastern region. By then, the situation was bad, but the worst damage came when the floods burst two dams. This was near the coastal city of Derna. It caused waters to move with terrible ferocity and speed. They ravaged eastern Libya. Now, a quarter of Derna has been completely erased and several other cities have been affected.
Then we heard that the dam had burst and the water had flooded the area. People were asleep and no one was ready. We lost 30 people so far, 30 members of the same family. We have not found anyone.
The worst of the horror is far from over. Officials are still taking stock of the situation. The Civil Aviation Ministry says at least 5,300 deaths have been recorded. The Health Ministry says about 6,000 people have died. Meanwhile, the mayor of Derna says 10 to 20,000 people could be dead. And this should give you an idea of the sheer lack of clarity here. The coordination between government officials is poor, to say the least. One can blame damaged infrastructure for this. But that is not the biggest roadblock. That is not the biggest problem of Libya. Libya's political landscape is to blame for what's happening, for how its people are suffering. This country has been battered by more than a decade of conflict. Political rivalry has laid waste to Libya's state services. Now this country has two governments, two rival governments. One in the capital, Tripoli, the one that the world recognizes, and another controlling the country's east, led by rival political factions supported by the military. Two separate governments. The flooding happened in eastern Libya. Floods are ripping through eastern Libya, so they are the eastern government's problem, the one supported by the military. But it's a very big problem. It requires efforts from both sides. On paper, the government in Tripoli says it has provided aid, but the eastern government says it has not. And they need support from Tripoli because the international community recognizes only the government in Tripoli, in the capital. All the aid comes to the capital. If it is not passed on to the east, then people will suffer. They are suffering. There is no denying that the coordination is poor, and this has resulted in slow rescue efforts. It's been 3 days since the calamity struck Libya, and it's only now that there are some signs of a thaw. Reports say last night a ministerial delegation left Tripoli. They went to Derna and other nearby cities to assess the damage. International assistance has finally started reaching those who need it the most. Around 11 countries are sending aid or rescue teams. And here's something else that you should know. This disaster would not have been so bad had it not been for this power politics. I told you about the two dams near Derna that broke. These dams were aging, and Derna does not share good relations with either government, neither in the east nor in Tripoli. So this city, Derna, has got no support. It has faced long years of neglect. Also, the Libyan floods could have been predicted. They were caused by a storm. This storm was gradually approaching the nation, but authorities did not take any action. They did not study the water levels. They did not prepare an evacuation plan.
If there would have been a normally operating meteorological service, they could have issued the warnings, and also the emergency management authorities would have been able to carry out evacuation of the people, and we could have avoided most of the human casualties.
All of this is happening because there is no central authority in Libya, no one to shore up infrastructure, no one to draw up plans to save people, no one to take responsibility. Now there is fury and grief. The people of Libya feel abandoned. And while those in power have failed to help, locals and volunteers are stepping up. People from West Libya are coming to the east. They're supporting the affected population. They're sharing vital supplies like food, water, and first aid. They're helping dig up victims from the debris. They're pulling people from the sea. They're helping bury the dead. It's bad enough to be stuck with one failing government. It's worse to be caught between two. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Libya.